Good evening. Cornwall will be moved from Tier 1 to Tier 2 by the government first thing on Boxing Day. Somerset is also on the move up to Tier 3.
For both counties, it's another blow to the hospitality industry. In Cornwall, pubs that don't serve food will have to close and people won't be allowed indoors with those they don't live with. In Somerset, it's takeaways only.
Well, first tonight, Grace Pascoe has spent the day in Fowey in South Cornwall and joins us live now. Grace, were people there expecting this?
Well, for those of us who track the coronavirus figures, I must say this isn't a huge surprise. Over the past 2 weeks, figures here have trebled, and just yesterday 100 new infections were recorded for the first time since mid-November. Cornwall, of course, has been one of the very few places placed in Tier 1, and that has undoubtedly meant many people travelling to the region. And here in Fowey today, in fact, we asked around 15 different people in the street for their reaction to this tier change. All of them declined, with many of them saying that they didn't want to appear on the news because they had travelled from another area. Businesses here, of course, will be processing the news today, as I've been finding out. From Boxing Day, if you want a pint at the Ship Inn in Fowey, then you'll also need to have a substantial meal, as that's when Cornwall moves into Tier 2. James Gitcham says working in a Tier 1 Cornish pub has not been easy.
Don't come down here and lie about where you're from and don't live by your rules. That's why the virus is spreading and people aren't doing as they're told.
Bars and pubs in Cornwall that don't sell food won't be able to trade from the 26th. The Ship already serves food, so it will become an eatery.
For our business, we would just be acting like a restaurant. People could only come in and have food. So as long as people book tables and abide by the rules, that's not really going to affect us.
Appleton's restaurant only opened at the start of the year. Since, they've been following guidelines and lockdowns and now are managing who is allowed in.
And we've had to turn a table away last week because they shouldn't have been here. And some people understand the rules, they respect the rules, and other people think it's nonsense. So, and when it's hard for us. We don't want to ask the table to leave because we're losing revenue as well. So it's a hard one to manage.
Andy says missing out on trade over the coming weeks is preferable to later in the year.
In Cornwall, we've been very lucky with the times. Shutting down in the month of November. Same with January, February. It's the quietest time of the year for our industry. Ideally, I'd like it to happen in January, February, rather later on when we hit Easter, when people want to start holidaying again.
Today, businesses here will be processing just what Tier 2 means for them and preparing to enforce yet more guidelines to try to curb the spread of coronavirus. Well, earlier today in St Austell, we asked shoppers for their views on these latest changes.
I think if it's based on good science, then no problem at all. I think it's better to err on the side of caution than to maybe do something rash or keep open for the sake of Christmas.
Now they're doing it in tiers, it's given us a bit more of a break, I guess, but it's still one of those, still a long way to go, and not hearing anything positive come out from COVID anymore. So
not happy about it. New Year's Eve off the table.
Yeah, a bit disappointing really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't think we were that bad. Apparently so.
Well, I'm now joined by Malcolm Bell, who's the head of Visit Cornwall, for your reaction. So what is your reaction and what does this mean for the tourism industry here?
Well, I think the first reaction is that if this is what's needed, then we welcome it. We've got to get on top of this. The first highest priority is public health, but it will have implications, obviously, because businesses have struggled cancelling people, then people have booked from another area that they could, then cancelling again and put them in very stressful positions, and it will have a significant economic impact. But if this is what it takes, of course we have to support it.
Definitely. How important is it to get this pandemic back under control and get businesses sort of back open and trading as before?
The first thing is pandemic comes first, but I think everybody in the tourism industry now knows that we've got a battle on our hand with it. The sooner we hit it hard, get it back under control, hopefully to be open, I think half term is iffy, but certainly Easter, and to get moved forward from there. And that's more important than actually sort of this gradual thing. We don't want it to get out of control, not only in the country, but particularly in our part of the world.
Definitely. And what do businesses here need? What support do they need from the government?
Well, I think the first thing is, there is going to be need for more support. We've got very viable businesses. If people can't get through because of cash, the danger is they'll go bust. The government won't get its loan money back, but equally and even more importantly, local people will lose their jobs. And that's not just in tourism, it's in retail and all the other areas. So I think we've all got to redouble our efforts. I think for all of us in Cornwall, let's adopt Tier 2 tonight. Let's abandon the rule of 6 now, because we've really got to get on top of this thing. It is in the community. It probably brought down for some visitors, I know, but it's in the community, it's in our schools. Let's get on top of it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Malcolm. And just to reiterate, Cornwall will move into Tier 2 from Boxing Day.
All right, Grace, live in Fowey. Thank you very much indeed.